Um, well, you told that, of course, in New York you had to wash dishes and so forth, and of course, I kind of understand out of this anecdote that it was a struggle also in New York to survive. Um, was it also part, if this is correct, of course, but was it also part of the reason that you wanted to go to, well, Europe and what became Holland?
No, that was just a dazzling chance, and I love to play with Michael Moore. I mean, it's uh, enough said, right? I mean, it's just, so, but also uh, to expand freedom and uniqueness and this freshness, cello, alto, and drums. That's interesting. And then I got here, and it just uh, it's a spectacular difference of the amount of context where the public, and the organizers want you to make bold, fresh music.
Please describe it a little bit more.
Um, well, the in New York, I got to work like a New Year's gig with a good singer and a good alto player, where the bass player and the piano player were solid, and there was a thought to making that fresh moment. You could play standards, but you have to make it fresh. But it that takes a lot of lifting to know a standard deep enough to to then let go of it, or to really know how to make it fresh. That's hard. And here, with a organizer of melodies like Michael Moore, and where are we going to go from there? And then um, so that this the it is a discontinuity. It is a freshness that just these are wow moments.
Because earlier also in our conversation, you described a moment that you arrived in Amsterdam and that you were almost shocked about what you saw, what was happening there.
Well, I can't. Now this is me. This is me, 62. This is 2017. This is the way I think about things. So I can't remember all of the thoughts that I would have about the things, but the the thought that I want to play music, and I want to play music that gets to this buzz, and of whatever way, and then do it again. And so to play in the BIM house, and this was a single floor BIM house, and that was, and to see listeners also focusing on trying to get to a fresh music. And that first summer I was here, I also got to hear Frankie Douglas, and so and just amazing. And then I think my first night in Amsterdam, I bumped into Sean Bergen at 3 in the morning. And so this, I wasn't disciplined at all, or here again, I'm trying to enhance that theme of my approach to music. But it was, I couldn't go back to just washing dishes, and it changed my life. The people, no, they want you to make this fresh music. And
Because when you arrived, you didn't have plans to stay here?
No. No. Everything quite ad hoc at this point in my life, in my late 20s. And then culturally, too, then I need to get more grounded about that. And then, so I went back, the first summer I came over in 79, the winter of 79, I went back to New York, and I think I went to visit my folks in California that winter. And the second summer, 80, I came back to Holland, fantastic, and was getting ready to move back to spend the winter in New York again. And some friends said that the man to whom I sublet my apartment, who was a drummer, and I was thinking I would help him out by giving him a place that I knew he could practice. He signed the lease out from under me and threw out all my stuff that was in the apartment. Good New York story. But so I was stunned, but then I'm going to stay here. And then now it's even harder, but then it was still strange to get an apartment. So I went through sleeping on couches and
In Amsterdam, you mean?
in Amsterdam. And so I look back. I was a pretty spoiled young man that I didn't grab the fabric of time and didn't pull as vitally as I should have. But I floated too much. But eventually I got a place where I could practice, and we were playing on the street enough to earn a living. And then I realized the dance school in Amsterdam didn't have live music, and I'd been playing a lot in New York for technique classes. I really enjoyed it when I have a good hookup with a teacher. And then I became a staff. I had a contract for work at the dance school. I was playing from 83 at the dance school, but the contract is dated 85.
So that gave you more or less steadiness.
Right. I could get legal and eventually get my own place. Yeah. And Matilda had a week at Ronnie Scott's booked, and we took an early morning ferry, and I was driving in out my head with the enthusiasm of that chance. I think we were listening to the Miles Davis McLaughlin record, Jack Johnson, really excited, and then I come to the border patrol, and my story wasn't good, and he didn't let me in.
Really?
Yeah.
In England?
In England, they kicked me out. You cannot come here to play, sir. You cannot.
I'm really astonished. Really?
And a week at Ronnie Scott's, yeah. Man. I love that band that Matilda had then. It was a pop music aesthetic, but she liked a lot of different colors, yeah. And I love to do that. And a week at Ronnie Scott's, but I didn't have my story together. And then as soon as the English kicked me out, the Dutch did me. I arrived in Vlissingen by boat, and the Dutch police said, "Well, where do you want to go, Los Angeles or New York?" And I said, "I want to go to Amsterdam. Let me call this man." So I called the director of the dance school where I was working, and on a Sunday afternoon, he drove to Vlissingen with 1,000 guilders and said, "This guy works for us." And I got in his car, and I rode back, and I thank him forever. Yeah. I paid him back. And so the dance school job was essentially important for me. Yeah, I understand. But this brings up this nasty contemporary position of many of my European friends have to jump through hoops of fire to go to play in America. And whereas American jazz musicians have been coming to Europe for a long time. Now, this is an old situation. It's existed for a long time. And the loops come back to affect me that perhaps Clapton, Winwood, et al., all of these young English musicians who were forced by the nature of Howlin' Wolf couldn't bring his band, but he could come. So these blues musicians got to work with these towering American blues figures,
Yes.
changing their lives and then changing my life.
Yeah.
But the basis of that is this rule of exclusiveness, where artists and musicians were not allowed into England to work. And musicians are not allowed to go to America to work. Where, I mean, on the real side of things, they have to pay 1,500 euros to go to play 2 weeks. The gigs are not going to pay them that much money. But it's just a chance to meet new publics. And something is really wrong with this bureaucracy that demands this visa. I mean, if American new music specialists had to pay $1,500 to tour Europe, who knows? Maybe the music that I love would not even have existed with this. The Art Ensemble and Braxton, when they came to Paris, their music just opened up. Yes. I mean, with members like Roscoe Mitchell in the band and the whole band, it might have happened anyway in Chicago. But that boost that they got from coming to Paris, you can't go back in time and change one element and think that other structures. But we can point out the argument of, no, let's let music flow back and forth, and let different people hear it and not get in the way of it. But the border security and visas and
in England it will not be better now with the Brexit, of course.
Wow! Now, May has called this election for June, so this is by-election, and we can see. But the attack in Manchester, I'm not optimistic. And like America, England is really divided over immigrants, and there's a lot of hate for change. Yes. America has this history of slavery, which is still deeply entrenched, deeply divisive, and very complicated to move forward. But Obama was a beautiful step for moving that forward, and there are others.
Back to you coming to Holland. How was it for you to be confronted with the ICP and the Misha and Hans scene? Did you know that already?
Well, I knew the last date in record in New York, and
which, of course, with the last date for Misha was Eric Dolphy, yeah.
But and seeing Han for the first time with Derek Bailey in the Kroeg, Lijnbaansgracht, yes. And how a dazzling musical moment could be shifted to a theatrical moment and then back, and that would give a fresh launch for a musical moment. Han had he loved the device of this cymbal stand adapter with a rubber top, and occasionally he would hit it hard enough and the cymbal would fall off. And so it is a very loud cymbal wash music that suddenly stops by the cymbal landing on the floor. And so then Derek has got these crunchy chords, and the sentence comes into the room, I'd like to help you, Han, but I have my hands full. And it's like, it's just, everything breaks open, and then okay, everything relaunches. But those moments of openness, breaking open, allow the music to settle to a new place. And I thought, wow, oh my goodness. Now, I wasn't prepared to lift at that point, but I did realize that, wait a minute, there's a whole new dimension of freedom here, and commitment. If you go back to Han, it's dexterity and push and drive. I mean, you don't get that by practicing, 45 minutes a day. This is like the whole day. This is rev it up, get the pump working, and push.
Of course, in Dutch improvised music, there has sometimes been has been the discussion: is it a distinguished kind of jazz? Does it differ from the American way of playing jazz? What's your opinion about it?
There are differences, but it's impossible to generalize. And the Dutch system brought about, and I hope will bring about, players of unique drive and music. Misha being just head and shoulders, but Wilbert Deoda now is so dazzlingly accurate, and it's just sublime. Then I can't understand how other bass players aren't working on other devices that Wilbert's, just his sound in the room, his use of amplifiers, his participation. But this is Wilbert, and Wilbert is very Dutch.
Well, we were talking, of course, about is there a, could one say, a Dutch kind of jazz music?
No. There are some people that are Dutch for me. Misha has this.
Why is he Dutch?
And it's not why, it's how. This the totality of his life, and then. So I didn't hang with him that much. I know him more as a chess player than a musician, but I got to play with him several times. I got to talk with him, and then to talk to him about being a 10-year-old at the swimming pool while the Nazis were here and trying not to get eye contact, and just that's sort of a thought experiment of, I can't imagine how that would have been. But then Wilbert, for me, he is Dutch, so then he has a certain essence of what it is to be Dutch for me. This the artistry, the uniqueness, the drive, the helpfulness, the musicality. Onno Govert, I mean, it's just delightful, musical young person.
But for instance, Maarten Altena, with whom you played for so long.
Yeah. It didn't end well with my thing with Martin. Basically, I just want to play the drums more, and he was getting more specific about how he wanted things, and bless his heart. I mean, he I'll never forget that Paul Lovens just couldn't stop talking about Martin's sound, and Martin inviting me to play with him was huge for me.
But how was it, for instance, that you also you played, of course, with Available Jelly rather soon, I think, when you were in Holland, and later came Maarten Altena, but also, indeed, you told it already, with Mathilde Santic. How did that occur?
Well, the core is Available Jelly. We were playing on the street a lot, and making the New Orleans tradition, tuba, a street band, and making jazz and original music, and then living in it, feeling it evolve, which is we just Available Jelly did like our 40th reunion tour like not so long ago, and it was striking to me that we evolved that music to that point, and then we recapitulated it in this 40th, and so the difference between evolving to that freedom is huge for me as a drummer. I mean, but then other things went through that path. I met Tristan Holsinger when I was still in New York, and saw him perform and was knocked out by that. And then I was in evolving the sound for Available Jelly. I got to think about what is bass drums. And I still think about that. In the other room, there are two bass drums, and it's a sweltering wet day here in Amsterdam, but bass drums, my real skin bass drums, love this. They really, it's just ecstasy. And so I had taken a 13-inch real skin Dutch parade drum and put it on a little stand, and then made a bass drum out of it. And this allowed me to have a very small kit that I could get on a bicycle to play in the street with Available Jelly. But it also was a low impact and pointillistic bass drum sound that Altena really found intriguing because of the low mass, and he was transparency was where it all started for him, and he, well, you would have to talk to him about how he describes elements that he wants, but he was still looking for fresh ways of coming together. And so both, almost simultaneously, Matilda and Martin saw me playing and invited me to come to work with them. And it's like, had I known just a bit more what I know now, I could have done that music much better than it's like, I've learned about music now, and so but I loved both of them, and I'm really thankful for the offer they gave me, and I'm sorry I didn't do it any better than I did.
Is that also something that is more or less Dutch, that all those music scenes interfere?
No, I experience it the opposite. They don't interfere with each other.
Oh, really?
They don't even, and the publics that go to one group don't go to the other thing.
Okay, that's true.
And I've expressed it other times as an aquatic environment where you have layers, and the people who go to this one club don't go to this other club. But sometimes both of those houses for music are vital, and they have great music. I think my recollection of it in New York is much more of a cross-pollinating cascade. Okay. But having said that, the chance to come here and play with music from the Caribbean with Frankie Douglas, and at the same time to be working with Maurice Horsehouse, trying to focus a mini orchestra that launches improvisations, to have real improvisers. And then to get a chance to play with Tristan Honsinger, where you have a theater piece launch another melody that congeals into an ensemble that launches another theater piece. These are great ways to come to a freshness about what's the next note or what's the next thing that's going to happen. And then my mini list there, then it includes Matilda and her focus for how to get her this way of singing jazz songs with different colors. So here, freshness again. Martin, and at that point, Zorn, and you know, I wish I would have done more with that. But that's, you know that I'm going to say that, right? So I maybe I shouldn't say it, but still, it's an element of the totality, and I can regard today too. I mean, I was just trying to get more out of the day.
Okay, Michael, to round it off, this very long, intriguing, very interesting conversation between us. Well, you're leaving Holland in a few weeks now.
No, 2 months.
Okay, 2 months. If I had to, if I ask you to describe one memory that is so vivid, that is so definitely a highlight from this period of yours here in Holland, what experience, anecdote / memory would it be? Very difficult, I know.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Okay.
I mean, but because you're also including the birth of my 2 children. I'm seeing them being born, and it's not. I mean, it's.
But if I limit it to a musical experience.
I had decided to go to Africa for 3 months. So the 2 days before that, this is 93, I went with went to the Concerto Royal and saw a quartet for the End of Time. And at a certain point, I felt a welling up of emotions, and my eyes shot tears. My eyes shot horizontal tears. I didn't know my body could do that. And I'm sorry for the rest of the concert goers who were around me as I experienced an emotional tumult like that. But I've loved that piece. And to experience being alive and being having emotions come in like that. I think I am answering your question, but I know that as soon as we're finished, I will think of countless others. I mean, my daughter had an audition to go to this school in India. And part of the meeting was that they have to share their emotions. So she sat down, we talked, and she said, "Dad, do I need a microphone? And it's better if you do it acoustically, Jamie." So I sort of helped her. And so she sat on a table, played acoustic guitar, and sang this song Pink, "Dear Mr. President, Take a Walk with Me." And I still get goosebumps thinking about it. This is Misha Mangelberg with Jan sitting in with Jan Kees Tance's group, and it was clear that Jan Kees thought that tune had gone on long enough. Misha got that idea, and then launched a series of major chord endings that any one of them could have worked, but it was okay. This could be it. And just, okay, the piano in this it has a hard time, but the piano can be a massive instrument in the right hands, and so these major chords just kept bouncing through it. And I'm sorry for Jan Kees because it made him a little uncomfortable, but the music that issued from that is just towering. Somebody who could click in their mind, make an example of freshness, and then bring it into the room. Here and again, Misha Mega in the Stedelijk. ICP was on stage and playing, but music had come to like a series of birds, which are, and Misha walked on the stage, played one note, and it was like you drop soap into an oily pan. The music just and resettled around that one note. I have many of these goosebumps musics. Wynton Marsalis was playing with Blakey with in the old BIM house, and he stood up and played 2 choruses, and the hair on the back of your neck stood up. And the current divisiveness of Lincoln Center versus the improvisation guys. This is not a inclusiveness, but at that moment it was a towering illustration of what music can mean. We raced to see Ornette in Carnegie Hall with Michiel Brahm and Wilbert de Jode, and after interminable blockages, we walked into the Carnegie Hall. Everybody standing up and applauding, and the stage is empty, and Ornette walks back in, sits down, and starts Lonely Woman. And just hearing his sound arc in that room. But I could go on. I saw Nureyev do Romeo and Juliet when I was, and talk about a man who knew how to take the moment on stage and make the most of it. These are elements where I'll just never forget. But I could go on too. In Africa, I was studying with a gunji player, and I saw one of his other students who was in a garden, and he was playing, and I wanted to hear it. And I got closer, and my teacher said, "Sorry, no, that music's not for you. That music is for him and his God. He doesn't want to perform that now." And the thought that this is, some people approach music like that. Or also in Africa, when the sun came up, you awoke because the sun is so strong there. So I heard voices. Eventually, I would get up and go looking for it. And what it was is a small church where a group of women, maybe 10 to 15 women, were praying and singing before going to work. And it's just this, my eyes got wet, and I was sitting on this porch going, this is just so beautiful. And that the music, maybe they didn't even want listeners, but I didn't want to go in. Is traveling around Africa, I did realize by that time that the Heisenberger principle works for music too, because if the musicians see you, they change. I remember near the beach there was a small church, and there was a drummer, really ecstatic, Elvin Jones, and a tambourine, and 3 people singing, and it was gorgeous. Just they saw my face. He's burst in a big smile and started to play disco beat, and I'm going, go back to what. I could go on.
Yeah. Well, Michael, thank you very much for this very long, great conversation. I wish you, all the success in New York, of course.
And to you, too. this scene now has the younger generation coming up. Arnold Govert, Stadhouses, and et al. And as Peter Evans pointed out to me, that no, keep your eyes out for the younger generations, because they're just this we haven't heard anything yet. They can really take it a new place.
Okay. Thank you, and good luck in America.
Thank you. I hope I'll be back. I have to figure out how to do that, but
We'll see you back in Amsterdam.
I hope so. Yeah. That's certainly a sweet thought.